Welcome to the heydocs podcast with your host, Jill Allen. Today, I am catching up with someone who has truly done it all and made it look almost effortless, Dr. Scott Sakowitz. From opening 2 full offices at once to building a national escape room business during dental school, this doctor's journey is anything but ordinary. We've had the pleasure of working together from the ground up, and today we're pulling it back the curtain on what it really takes to scale smart, build a strong team, and stay connected to your purpose along the way. So let's dive in. This episode was brought to you by Gray Finch. Hey docs, if you want to have a great business, the right practice management software is essential. But some can be slow, outdated, and lacking good support. That's why I recommend Gray Finch to all orthodontists. It's the fastest, most reliable, and most secure platform to grow your business and improve your efficiency. It's completely web-based, so you can run your entire practice anywhere and from any device with no servers, no downloads, or hidden fees. They even have the most helpful and responsive support team around. Right now, Gray Finch is giving a $500 discount to our listeners. Visit grayfinch.com/Jill Allen to learn more and see why it's one of the fastest growing providers in America. Scott, I am so excited to have you on Hey Docs. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Jill. It's great to see you.
Yes, good to see you too. I have been looking forward to having you on. It's always some of my favorite episodes when I can have previous clients come on and tell their success stories. And you are definitely one of those. As we open up and get started today, I'm wondering if you can just tell us and the audience a little bit about yourself and your background and your journey up to this point in practice ownership.
It's quite a story, but we'll start with born and raised in Orlando, Florida, and went to University of Florida for college, University of Pennsylvania for dental school, and University of Michigan for my ortho residency. And when I was in dental school, and this is kind of part of the journey, it's important. Mm-hmm. We went to a trip to California. We tried an escape room, the first one in the country. And I got to say, I fell in love with the whole concept of escape rooms. And yes, in between dental school and ortho residency, we actually started the first escape room in Florida, and it was very exciting. It was my first step towards entrepreneurship.
Yep.
And then, of course, went up to Michigan and completed my residency there, continued opening some escape rooms as well. And when all was said and done, I came back to Orlando and decided to open a practice. And then actually a year later, I opened a second practice. And at that time, I was working with you. And yep, you were guiding me a little bit, maybe telling me a little bit that I was maybe biting off more than I could chew. But of course, I didn't listen to that. I just wanted to try my crazy plan, and it worked. That was back in 2017 that we were talking and working on opening up the first practice. And now, 2025? Actually just opened a satellite location last year. We're up to 3 offices now, which is pretty exciting.
It is. And you know what I have always loved about your story is from the minute, I think one of our very first conversations when you were looking at doing a startup is I knew you were ambitious from the get-go and you had big dreams and big goals. And I loved the fact that you had already tried your hand at and done very well at owning a business with the escape rooms. And so you had some business understanding, even as we were going through this, and we've known each other for a lot of years now. You've even got to kind of cycle through the, oh my gosh, what happens when COVID hits? And it's not just one business, but it's 2 businesses and all of that. And just your perseverance through situations and just your drive to be like, okay, I'm going to open up a startup. And I don't even think we were 6 months into the startup and you were like, Jill, you're never going to believe this. Shocking. I'm going to do another practice. We've got this great location. I've got this. And just that okay, let's do it. Let's move our way through it. So it's been really fun to watch you and watch your drive. And I think you could say to anybody that's listening, you had to do the hard work in getting offices off the ground and running, especially too within your first 2 years of being open. And I'd love it if you could just kind of talk about those first years and what was going through your mind. And because it's not a small decision to do one practice, let alone two, and just maybe the benefits, some of the struggles you went through as you were making those decisions to just push and grind your way through in the beginning there.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely, it's opening a practice is not an easy thing. You've helped a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people through the process. Opening two, though, is actually, I didn't find it that much harder than opening one because all of the
Mm-hmm.
things that I was going into and doing for one already, I was able to do for the second one and just almost in tandem work on everything. And one
Mm-hmm.
of the things, and actually one of the biggest benefits really, is that it allowed me to put more time towards myself more quickly. And I was never of the mindset that I wanted to keep my corporate job and continue working for a very long time. And I even went into the job with my employer understanding that I wasn't going to be there long term. So for me, being able to scale back, then scale into my own practice and to be able to give myself the days and what I needed to really grow two locations simultaneously, I think it accelerated the growth and it really brought things to a maturity much faster than a single location would have been. And that's probably the biggest benefit is more of that exponential growth. And another benefit too is I think a lot of people open up a second office down the road and the team is used to working in one location and now you have to transition to working in two locations. Right from the beginning, everyone was expected to travel, knew that there
Yep.
was traveling involved. We never had to worry about that transition. So it made it
Mm-hmm.
easy to get full support at both locations from the get-go. I
Yeah.
think that was a big plus.
Yeah. And when I look back and I think about your journey and others, I've had many other doctors that have done similar things. Is I think just talking about the point of the beautiful thing about if you are going to do two practices close together, as you said, is you get to take what you're doing in one and just duplicate in the other. And although it can be a struggle as you're almost ramping up the amount of employees you need so much quicker because you're in one location and then you're in another location and you have to make them both seem as though they're both open full time as you're getting that going. But it also just gives you that many more days to hone your craft and really dive into your skills of, okay, I've really got to make this work because it's not just one practice on the line, it's two. And I'm not relying on a secondary income from an associateship to ride us through until we get there.
Speaking of income, let's talk about some of the challenges as well.
Yeah.
Of course, there's double expenses. You have
Mm-hmm.
double rent. There is some additional staffing required because you still want someone at both offices. And of course, getting financed was probably the trickiest part
Mm-hmm.
because, as you may remember, banks just did not see the idea as being something that would work. So they were happy to finance one, but as soon as the second
Mm-hmm.
one kind of came into the picture, they're like, hold on, this doesn't really make sense from a
Mm-hmm.
risk standpoint. And I agree with them. I think that it was a daring move.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said before, I had the escape room as well. And that was providing a steady source of income. I had an associate position. So ultimately, it was a self-funded venture. And I did get a little family help along the way too, which also helped make ends meet. But
Yeah.
ultimately, without some additional income stream, it would have been impossible
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't think everyone's circumstances quite would be the same as mine, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of lessons that could be learned from the two office approach versus doing
Mm-hmm.
one and opening another one later.
Yeah. And I do think I really love the betting on yourself view where you're like, I'm all in betting on myself because who better to do this than you? You know your drive, you know your goals that are in place. And I've had many doctors who have, whether it's been self funded or family helped, or just an opportunity where they start their startup practice and now all of a sudden the doctor down the street that they wanted to buy initially is now selling out their practice, and they're going from 0 to 100 because now they're taking on all of that other practice. Or the doctor just a town down has a similar situation where this wasn't exactly what I planned, but I can't not do this. And however financing works out, I really believe if it's meant to be, the financing will work out. It may be creative, but it will work out. And then it's just finding that time and that energy to put into it. Anything else you would want to say about, just as you look back, I would have done this differently, or I definitely think somebody needs to think about this or whatnot?
I will say, like you said, I bet on myself, but I think I bet on myself a little bit too much when it came to the confidence that I would be able to just get people started because they came in. And the reality hit, and I started out of network with insurances. I would have gone in network day one. I would have done everything to get just butts in the chair, to get some volume, some reputation.
Yep.
Exactly. Your advice. I was like, let me wait a moment and kind of see how this goes. I should have just gone all in to just get that momentum going. And I think had I changed that, really, I probably wouldn't have wasted the first 6 months just hoping people would walk through the door. We did events at schools, we did community events, tried to get the name out there. But at the end of the day, if you have no reputation, if people have no idea who you are, they're like, why should I go here? Versus someone down the street who has all these Google reviews and who people are recommending. I think finding a way to get people to give me a chance would have been a big change that would have helped.
Yeah. And I think that that's a struggle with any startup. And we talked a lot about this. And anybody who's listening that is a startup or is thinking about it, one of the hardest things you will do is is just building your brand. And you literally start off in your first couple of years, and it is just about brand awareness. We just need people to be aware of you. And when you think about marketing, it can't just be one vein of marketing, and then patients are just going to magically appear. And Scott, the one thing I can say about you is you really did do all of the things, but it just takes a while to have people be aware that you're there, especially in an area like where you started, where there is a lot of competition. You were not just out in this town where there's no other doctors around. You were coming in against some pretty good competition already and fighting for your space at the table. And sometimes it does take leaning into any and all avenues. And I always say, if we are going to go and network with insurances, you have to look at being in network. Every time you write off your fees, you need to think about that as a marketing expense, because you are paying to be on that insurance's website to show up there so patients can find you. And it's definitely a mindset shift when you think about it that way. And just, it is hard. It is hard, but you did it, and you did great. And you had fantastic first years. You hit your numbers. But I think as a doctor, you would agree there's a little bit of that reality check too. Wow, this is not nearly as easy as it is in my associateship job to convert those starts.
Absolutely. Truly. And I think one of the things that, because one office started about a year before the other, it gave me a chance to learn a few things. The momentum going into the second office was so much better than the first because we had a lot more pieces in place. I even started by doing a community event right before we opened and giving out 50% off treatment coupons. I think we got 10 people through the door within like the first 2 weeks. It was a totally different start. And lessons learned, of course, but I think of course, I'd love to get into it a little bit about kind of the differences with the newer satellite office versus those first two startups.
Yeah. Let's just talk about that, because that is exactly where I was going to go. Is now that we've talked about what you learned in those first years, and obviously you've done well. To anybody who's listening, Scott has done great and just been on an upward movement from the get-go, just never slowing down to smell the flowers, for sure. And when you think about, well, the 2 practices weren't enough, now we've got a satellite. I definitely do want to talk about that, because I do believe that there are some doctors that say 1 practice and done, I'm good. Some that are 2 done and good. Some that are 3, 4, 5. And let's just talk about that vision for you and what kind of propelled you to move into, you know what? I think there's room for another, and what the difference is between a satellite practice and maybe your core more established practices. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that and your view as you have gone through that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when it comes to a satellite office, a lot of people feel treated like, almost like a child that you didn't want to have, that
Mm-hmm.
came at a time that just wasn't convenient,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like everyone else is independent and now you have this baby again that you have to nurture.
Yep.
And the problem is your time is stretched so thin already that to be able to nurture it properly is a lot more difficult. And I can say I'm not giving it the personal time and attention that I gave the first 2 offices.
Yep.
That being said, I also set up for the team to be able to nurture, for an associate that joined the practice as well to be able to help nurture, and having the right people in the right places, empowering the team to be able to handle a lot of problems, to work on marketing, make independent decisions, to look back at what worked in the past and try to do some of those things again, for better or worse. And there actually are some challenges with that too, because we can't just go into a new community and start offering 50% off deals, because now I have existing patients at other offices who they're going to look at me,
Like,
hey,
yep.
it's
Yep.
like, yeah, I've referred 10 people to you. I
Mm-hmm.
deserve that. But
Yeah.
somewhat, I think the hands are tied a little bit with at least some of the tools and mechanisms we can use. And I have done some contests that I've tried to make fair at all 3 offices, but with, of course, a little extra focus for the new one. But the first 2 offices don't feel like they're left out of some of those special discounts. We
Yeah.
still did some community events in those areas to keep that balance. But again, when you're busy, though, it's hard to give 100% when you're already giving 100%. And to be able to give more, you have to get your team and your support structure into place to make that happen. And fortunately, my wife's been very helpful throughout the whole process, taking on marketing responsibilities, training actually a team of ClinCheck coordinators to help with setting up a lot of our ClinChecks. And
Great.
even, yeah, we're working on TC training as well. But a lot of the things that I used to handle myself have to be delegated. And I think that's also part of the process, is knowing that you are only one person. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot do everything. And if you can't trust people to do it, and again, they may not do it as well or the same way, they might do it better than you too. Some things I know other people do better than me. And that's a big part of the process, is knowing who to trust and what to trust them with.
Yeah.
Um,
It's interesting that you say delegation, because I really want to just dive into that a little bit, because I think that is such a stage as we mature in our leadership ability and we have more and more understanding of what it means to be a business owner. It really is a key factor into moving beyond 1 practice, 2 practice, 3 practices, wherever you're going to go. If you hold on to that Superman, Superwoman syndrome that all falls on you, you just will fall flat. And I'm curious, do you, are you able to articulate at what point you moved past that? Because I think as new business owners, we all start with nobody can do it better than me. But, at what point you started to be like, trust is important for sure, but the only way that I will be able to do all 3 of these practices is if I have the infrastructure under me to be able to delegate some of these duties out.
so I think a lot of it came to light actually about 2 years ago. And I went to a Fishbine Fundamentals course. And
Mhm.
I had to say, a little plug for that. Great course. I loved it.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely.
opened my eyes and helped me see that there are other ways to approach things, other ways to structure things.
Yep.
And then I think the first thing we did after that meeting was create an office structure chart. And we created the current structure and then a structure that was the goal where we wanted to get to.
Yep.
And what I created that day with my office manager does not look at all what it is today. But at the same time, it was the start of kind of that bigger thinking and realizing that we needed specialized roles and people to run departments. And I even created a new role in the practice that I didn't think was really at the time going to be anything significant or helpful, but it's called project manager. And it's turned out to be an immensely helpful role that essentially takes the ideas and turns them into reality.
Yes.
And I think that was the part for me that like I wasn't finding the time to do anymore. So I needed help in that area, and finding someone on the team who was skilled in that and able to help bring these ideas to life started to increase our momentum and begin to help move things forward again. And people check out our Instagram page, they'll see some of these new projects. We put a green wall up with a neon sign for patients to take photos at. It's been on my list for probably over 2 years to just have a nice spot in the office. And it kept going down on the list and lower priority until finally I said, just do it. I didn't look at the plans. They just showed me a little mock-up right before it was done and said, do you like it? And I said, it's great. Let's make it happen. And then it happened, and it's amazing. And I think it's just those types of projects, that type of trust to have people on the team, that changed everything to allow that growth to begin to happen.
Yeah. And I love thank you for saying that. And the piece that I want to pick out too on this is we are never the same business owner, or I hope we are not, and leader when we start our business as who we are 5 years in, 7 years in, 10 years in. And one of the things that I think is so key is we always have to be pushing ourselves for continuing ed, for getting new ideas and visions. And I love this about you, Scott, too, because we've known each other and had this great working relationship for a long time, but you didn't just stick with the fundamental tools that Jill's team taught me is all that I need. Absolutely not. The fundamental tools that we taught you were what you needed for the time that you needed when you started a startup practice. If you were still holding on to that kind of base level line, you would not be where you're at. And I challenge any doctors that are out there listening that you cannot get stuck or stagnant. And this is good enough, or we've learned enough. I love it that you are, and we have to pay to play, and you are going out, and lots of people have phenomenal information out there in our industry. And even, I'm going to bet you've done stuff even outside of our industry, because that is really, I think, what makes us better leaders, better business owners, and then in turn takes us to the next level, and wherever we're going to go within a business.
It's true. You can't maintain some of the growth numbers that we had. 2023, for example, was 50% growth. That was before opening a satellite. 2024 was about 20%. And year to date for this year, we're at 29%. You can't stop. You got to keep pushing forward and just try to continue to make things not just better, but really to better your best. I learned that from one of the courses that I went to, one of the lecturers. He said, every day, you got to try to better your best.
Yeah.
And
literally, I love that.
Yeah, we embody that. And that's what we try to do each and every day, whether it's customer service or stuff that we're doing behind the scenes as a team, or just in the patient care, trying to continue to get better results. At the end of the day, orthodontics is some science, some art.
Yeah, absolutely. And now a word from the sponsors who make this podcast possible. Are you thinking about opening an orthodontic practice? I know, it's a big decision, but saving 25% on the ADEC equipment you need to get started, that's an easy one. Because ADEC has a special program called Smart Start, designed to help you launch your first practice. You get up to 25% off your ADEC orthodontic equipment and furniture. You also get complimentary services to help you run and grow your business. And my favorite part, access to the Smart Start pricing for 2 whole years after you open your doors. That gives you flexibility to add more chairs as your cash flow grows. It's pretty smart. As an orthodontist, you care about getting all the little details right, and ADEC really got it right with this program. So if starting off with a big savings on ADEC equipment sounds good to you, the ADEC Smart Start is definitely worth a closer look. Just follow the link in the show notes to learn more. Hey docs, let's talk about Smile Suite, because it's not just another scheduling system. It's a game changer in the world of new patient management. And as a proud Smile Suite partner, I've witnessed the incredible impact it has on practices of all sizes. Smile Suite means your new patient calls and web leads are expertly handled 7 days a week, even during nights and weekends. And they offer top-notch customizable presentation software and seamless post-consultation follow-up. It's like having a secret weapon for your practice's success. Curious? Dive into the revolution at getsmilesuite.com. And don't forget to mention Hey Docs to unlock some extra goodies. Elevate your practice with Smile Suite, because every smile deserves a suite of excellence. So let's switch gears and let's take this a little personal for a moment, because I think the hardest thing, and you touched on this a little bit too, is when you're giving 100%, like, where does the other 100% for everything else come from? And I'd love it if you would talk a little bit, because you've said already you're married, you've got a wonderful wife, Marla. I love her. But let's talk about what that looks like on how you prioritize your time and protect your energy as a business owner as you're trying to do all of this.
I think the first rule, and this is one that I've had pretty much since the beginning, even since residency, is don't take work home. Mm-hmm. Just don't. It doesn't matter how urgent or important it is, just keep it at the office. I think if you compartmentalize your time and do it the right way, it allows you to have that separation between work life and personal life. And one thing that I did when I first opened, I was doing the typical 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., 1 hour lunch, trying to accommodate what people expect. And I quickly realized that when I had my second child, this is actually when it really came to light. I thought that I was going to be tired, because when you have kids, they're up all night. Yeah. It's normal. Fortunately, I wasn't, because I was allowed to sleep in the guest bedroom. I still set up my schedule so that I had a 2-hour block for lunch with nap time built in. I didn't need that nap time. So instead, I turned it into productive time. And I realized in that moment that blocking off the most unproductive hour of the day suddenly transformed that balance of the workday so that I could get more done at the office and feel even less of a need to want to take something home. And once I did that, I think everything changed. Then I also changed the start time to 9 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock and suit that personal life as well. Have a little time in the morning to help get the kids ready, bring them to school, be a little bit more present, because they start close to 9 o'clock. So if I'm out that door at 7:30, they're not even awake yet.
Yep. Yeah.
Some people are probably jealous because their kids wake up at the crack of dawn.
Yeah. And I love that you're talking about this, because you may have heard me say this in the past, and anybody who's listening may have heard me say this, but this is one of the basic business fundamentals that I truly believe in, is that as you get going along in business, you have to have time to work on your business while you're in your business. And it seems like such a foreign concept, but nobody wants to take work home. Nobody wants to try and divide time between family or there may be somebody out there who does, but in the majority of people that I talk to, we're all chasing that elusive work-life balance, which we all know is not true. Sometimes we're just going to generally be busier than others. But if we can truly find time to see the value And it is just as valuable as seeing an hour's worth of clinic patients to work on your business. And if you imagine doing that daily, or even if you just start with that weekly, where you've got dedicated time uninterrupted to just get the stuff out of your head and get it worked on, it will propel you, so much. And it sounds like you had that aha moment. Now, if somebody were to say, "Hey, Scott, we're going to take this away from you," I'm going to bet you're going to be holding on to that one, kicking and screaming if they were going to try and take that away at this point.
I actually need another hour. But I mean, there's been a lot of changes too in the balance since bringing in an associate, and the days that work together, it frees up a lot more time as well. So that's helped a ton. But there's actually one other thing that has really helped to free up time. And I think it's empowering team members and also finding the right team members to be problem solvers.
Yes.
I don't want them coming to me with the problem, trying to have me come up with the solution. I want them coming with the solutions. And I think once I helped create that mindset and mentality, it really started solving a lot of the issues in the office. So less things were ending up on my desk, less people were knocking on my door, and I was able to focus on the bigger issues and the stuff that would move us forward instead of trying to fix whatever was happening now and keep us in the past.
Yeah.
I don't like putting out fires.
Yeah. Yeah. Better to be reactive or proactive than reactive. And I cannot agree with you more. When we can get to a point where we can trust and empower our team members with decisions that they're working off of your values, they're working off of what they know to be true, that you trust them to make this decision. And even if somehow it went a little awry, it's not going to make the whole house. We're not a house of cards. It's not going to make it all fall down. And I think, again, having those strong people under you just empowers you to do more and more. So I think that's great. I want to talk a little bit also, as you have went through this, one of the things that you have really worked on is creating your practice culture and really living and embodying that, and what that looks and how that shows up in your team and in the energy of the practices and whatnot. And I'm wondering if you can talk about that, and maybe even the journey as that has maybe evolved from when you were a startup to where you guys are at right now.
I'm glad you asked that, Jill, because you were there throughout the whole journey. I'm sure you remember some of the trials and tribulations. But let's actually start, with a little bit of the history of kind of where things started. Because when we first started out, pretty much it was trying to find someone with the right personality, people who would be friendly and outgoing. Once we grew to about 4 people, started to have some issues with the team connecting, getting along, mesh. There was bullying in the office. It was a toxic culture, truly. And there was one employee who stuck by me, and she's still here today.
Yep.
You remember her.
Yep.
From your first trip out. But she's now the director of operations. I had a little bit. It was really the other half of my brain.
Yep.
But at that time, she was just at the front desk, kind of wanting to help, wanting to do things right. And she was really the only one who was doing things right. So we came up with a plan to essentially purge the old team and bring in new team members. Some behind people's backs, unexpectedly. Others, like COVID helped, because COVID was a natural transition to essentially let people go. And that made it a little easier. But it was right around that time, turn of the year 2020, that we made this transition. And it was essential, because without that, we would not have created what we call our dream team. And it was really our first dream team, because the people who came in after COVID, we were able to find the right mix that got along well, that had the right attitude, the right mentality. And it turned into an all-star team. And these were people who, when someone was out or we had to fire someone because they weren't working out, they kept a smile on their face. They continued to work hard because they knew that they would rather not have that person and have the good core team than to have more people not have the right team but work a little bit less.
Yeah.
And I think that culture is somewhat continued to this day because we're very quick to hire people when we find someone who is the right personality. But we're also very quick to fire people if they're not
Mm-hmm.
the right fit.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes within a day or two, we just see it's not working out. And honestly, there's no hard feelings, at least on our part. We want to give everyone a chance who seems like they might be a good fit. Because when we find that right fit, our goal is to help that person grow into the best role for them. I
Yes.
actually learned this from a book, but there's a concept of right person, right seat. Very good
Mm-hmm.
book called Traction.
One of my
Gino
favorites.
Wickman. Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites. Absolutely. I feel there are so many different points in our career where you could read that and you're going to get, different things out of it. And that point about right seat, right person, right seat. There's a whole chapter about that in there. And I think that so directly relates to, and I want to take you back memory lane just a little bit here, but when you were first hiring those first employees, I think so many times doctors get so wrapped up in it's got to be the perfect employee and they've got to have this and that and whatever. And I think you would attest to this now that what we thought we needed out of an employee when we're very first starting our practices and what we think our culture or our vision of the practice is so very different than really when you get in and you're hitting that year 3 to 4, year 4 to 5, where you really have dialed it in and you really truly understand what that vision and what that culture and really what you're looking for out of those employees. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about that. And you touched on it a little bit, but just how your vision changed and how you guys started doing things differently. And that first employee was definitely not your forever employee, and how that has evolved now to where you are maybe looking for more of those long term and probably getting people that are more on that long term standing employee.
Yeah, it's definitely changed a ton. I think at first I wanted to almost bend over backwards to
Mhm.
try to keep people, make people happy, do what we could to keep the people that were there. Whereas now, like I am much more accepting and understanding. Like when it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit. People will move on. I think that there's two different groups of employees that we get. You have the people who are looking for a job to help them transition to whatever the next stage of their life is. And actually, we have a number of people who are in school doing online classes while they're working here. I know that they're not going to stay forever. But even we do give them more responsibilities, we give them tasks, and we just ask for transparency.
Yeah.
And that's where the culture has gone, is making sure that people keep us abreast of what their goals are. I would rather someone give me 6 months heads up that they're going to be changing and transitioning in their life and have a nice, smooth transition on our part than have someone who gives me 2 weeks and they've known all along that this was going to
Yep.
happen. And I think once people realize that you're actually accepting of plans in life, it makes it a lot easier. I think then there are other people that look at it like a career. And those are the ones that really move into the upper management roles and who are looking for not just more responsibility, but also that leadership and the ability to solve the problems and just take on a lot more of the core duties in the office. And finding that core team, you can't rush it. It takes time. That's one thing I've learned is I've put some people into positions too quickly before and it
Mhm.
backfires because they are not the right fit for that role. And sometimes when you take them out of it and they're the right person, but they're in the wrong seat, it's a delicate
Mhm.
conversation to explain to them, like, we're going to try this and see if it works for you. We want to keep you, but we want to also find the best role for you. And I didn't really start out thinking that way. I just had everyone do a little bit of everything because I wanted that redundancy. I think when you're starting out, you need that redundancy
Mhm.
because if a person leaves and they're the only one who knows how to do something, you're in trouble. It makes it really hard. Fortunately, you can do a lot yourself when you're not that busy, but as soon as you're busy, you can't really have specialized roles without some redundancy.
Yeah.
And no, go ahead, Jill.
No, I was just going to say, I cannot agree with you more. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things when people are looking at doing a startups, or anybody that's listening that's maybe in their first couple of years of practice, is it can be really easy to take it personal if somebody doesn't work out, or think, oh, what did I do wrong? Or I offered them everything and they still didn't stay. And really, what you need to understand is what we need out of an employee in our first couple years is very different than what you will need out of an employee when you are in that year 3, year 4, and you're really growing and moving along. And unfortunately, even if you think you've got a vision of what you want your culture to be, you just haven't had enough time to cultivate and really come to an understanding of what that culture is and what that's going to look like until you get to sit in it and work in it. And I think you would agree, about year 3 and on, you've got a pretty good understanding of what that's going to look like. And as you start to pull in those people, you also have an understanding of, these are maybe my longer term employees and these are maybe my not, but I think it's just an easier thing to see and really hone in and work on after you've been doing it for a while. It's like parenting. It looks easy until you have kids, and then you're like, oh, I can see why this is so hard.
It absolutely gets easier as time goes on. No doubt about that. But it also requires work. And I think you can't just assume by default that your team is going to magically fall into place. You have to put in the time, the effort, cultivate that culture that you're looking for. Whether it's bringing in lunch for the office so that everyone sits and eats together instead of people leaving the office and going to their cars to watch a show, or going out to a restaurant, or really, then you're really forcing everyone to be together. And I think there are certain occasions that are worth celebrating. Anniversaries, of course. We go big on anniversaries. And at the beginning, we went really big on birthdays too. Any reason that there was to celebrate something, to bring the team together, we would try to take advantage of that. Team building events throughout the year, we would always do 3 to 4 events. And it's really about bringing people together and building relationships that are not focused around work and, hey, can you help me with this patient or with this task? Just getting to know people. A couple other things more recently that we've incorporated, we put a dream board up in our break room, and that dream board has pretty much what everyone's goals and aspirations are, and a picture to symbolize that. So everyone in the office can know and understand and appreciate what each person is working towards in their life. And if someone can help someone with something because you now know what that person's working towards, people will connect and be like, hey, I have this and you need that. Let's help each other out. And I think that has really helped. And it's a lot of fun too when you see people actually achieve a goal. When you have someone who wants to go on a dream vacation, or someone who wants to get a new car, any of those, if there's a community event and there's extra hours and someone's trying to get a little extra money for that car, because we have someone who's just graduated high school and he wants a car. You work that extra hours, it helps. And you can help prioritize that, and people understand if that person's given a little extra priority because they're working towards something. It's about that team mentality and everyone getting to know and understand each other.
Yes.
I think when you're strangers, there's no culture.
Yeah, I love that. And what a great idea. And again, I think this is that sometimes you just got to do the work and do the hard work, because it's easy to not do all of those things, but then it's easy to then go, I wonder why my team isn't jiving, or why, we don't really have any culture, versus looking in at your practice and where things are at and really having an understanding of, wow, they are tight. They are a tight office. And it's the little things that don't seem like a lot that really do make a big difference in moving towards really strong culture in a practice.
Oh, yeah. When you have one employee who exemplifies the culture that you're looking for, I think that's a point where almost empowering them to just do what they already like to do. For example, someone really likes to just decorate. So they like to do the birthday parties and get balloons and cakes and make it feel special, and empowering them to do that. So yeah, I don't have the time to go in and do this for everyone, but they do because they like to do it, they want to do it, and they're creating that aspect of the culture. And I think finding the people with different aspects that you want to embody and empowering them to do whatever they're good at will help to build a culture and really build it the way that you can almost handpick if you're looking at the qualities that you want.
Yeah, I love that. Scott, I know that you and I could just talk and talk here, and there's just so many fun things to unpack. But of course, we've got to bring this to an end. So I'm just wondering if you could, if anybody wants to reach out to you or maybe is, hey, this really made sense. I'm on the same path or on this journey. Is there a good way somebody could reach out to you, get in touch with you if they want to pick your brain a little bit or just maybe ask you some questions about what you've done thus far?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I think just the first place, just for some ideas, follow us on Instagram at Sakowitz Smiles. And I think, that's a great way to just see what's happening each and every day in the office. And for me personally, I actually created a special email just for this, heydocs at sakowitzsmiles.com. So
that's awesome.
Any emails, they go straight to me, and I'd be happy to get in touch with anyone who's looking for a little help or just wants to talk about something.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for sharing your story. I know that there's a lot of people who've been listening that are like, this was great. This is just what I needed to hear, or that little pearl really helps. So thanks again for taking time to be on heydocs and just be so open with your journey.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure being here. I really enjoyed it.
Excellent. All right. You know how I like to finish off heydocs? I like to finish us off with a little speed round. So if you're ready, I'm going to ask you a few questions to get us going. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. What is one business trend you think more people should be paying attention to?
Ooh, I don't think enough people are paying attention to AI truly. I know everyone's talking about it, but talking about it and actually like getting into it are two different things. So I think people really need to get into it.
Oh, I like that. All right. What is the most unexpected lesson you have learned so far in your career?
I always said it, actually. Time is valuable. Don't let yourself or others waste it. But it wasn't really until I got so busy that I needed to truly manage and free up time that I actually understood how valuable time really is.
Yeah, that's great. And then last one, if you had unlimited resources, what's one big idea you'd want to bring to life?
Oh, okay. So we talked about the escape room at the beginning. So I have this vision of doing kind of like a massive multiplayer escape room experience where you have a couple hundred people all doing like a shotgun start in this 20,000 square foot warehouse and going through different rooms and almost a real life choose your own adventure.
Oh my gosh.
I would love to do something like that.
Yeah. If you do, you got to let us know about it. That would be awesome. Again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be on heydocs. And I just appreciate you and just love seeing your journey through the years. It's very inspiring. So thanks again.
You're welcome, Jill. Great talking to you. Thank you again for having me.
All right. See ya.
Bye.